As President Biden works to secure the necessary funding for Ukraine and Israel, viewers Paul Ndiho spoke to Professor David Monda of City University of New York to gain further insight.
He really used this opportunity to try and, number one, create a very balanced narrative around the need for Israel to defend itself on one hand, but also trying to empathize with the Palestinian suffering in Gaza. Try to tie it to a domestic context where there's a lot of now Islamophobia coming up with he mentioned the recent stabbing and killing of the young boy in Chicago, the Palestinian boy, but he also raised the broader issue of the anti-Semitism, right? The Jewish synagogues and Jewish people actually now feel threatened. But the second element I think that he raised that was really interesting was to try and tie the Israel-Hamas conflict to the Russia-Ukraine conflict and trying to show Israel and Ukraine as bastions for democracy and to make the case as to why the United States needs to be vigilant and active in the Middle East and also to support Ukraine against Russia.
How would you respond to people who are saying that he's trying to have it both ways? For example, he's cheering on Israel and saying that we are 100% behind you, despite the outcry from human rights activists, human rights agencies, the people of Palestine, people who are being bombarded.
We have to understand Biden has to continue with the foreign policy that has been laid there, not only by himself, but by Trump, who was there before him, by Obama, who was there before Trump, by Bush, who was there before Obama, and for a whole tradition of American presidents going back to Harry Truman, right, with the creation of Israel in 1948. America has generally had a very pro-Israeli foreign policy in the Middle East. It's very difficult for Biden to steer away from that. But I think his challenge has also been that within the Democratic coalition of the party, there are a lot of pro-Palestinian or sympathetic Palestinian elements within the Democratic Party have been speaking out.
Let's talk about the current state of affairs, the humanitarian crisis in that region. Close to 3 million people. They have no place to go. No Arab country wants to open their borders. They are being bombed from the sky. They have no place to hide. Gaza is not a safe place. The United States has brokered a deal where they're going to allow in 20 trucks from Egypt to go to Gaza. Is that enough?
I do not think that is enough. And if I may, the challenge you have with Gaza is you have Hamas inside Gaza with the people, with these 2 million people. It's very difficult to differentiate a Gaza youth from a Hamas militant. President Biden and President al-Sisi were talking about opening a humanitarian corridor. But even then, Egypt has itself said these people cannot get into Egypt because Egypt does not want to have to deal with refugees once this conflict is over because Egypt itself can't even take care of its own people adequately. The bombing and the military offenses which is going to happen is actually going to make things worse. And it's going to radicalize the Palestinians even more. But more broadly, it's going to probably lead to a regional war where countries like Iran, other Muslim countries, which were thinking of reestablishing links with Israel, will put that on hold.
Well, that was Professor David Monda at the City University of New York speaking to viewers Paul Ndiho.